This Day in Sports History. And welcome back into another edition of This Day in Sports History. It is February 7th, and on this day throughout sports history, it was a day to set records on the basketball court. We've got career marks, single-game records, incredible feats of strength and marksmanship, and a couple of firsts for you. All that plus a non-sports fun fact about painter Bob Ross coming your way at the end. This is going to be a bang, bang, bang episode, and I'll fire the first shot right after this. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. So let's start with what happened on this day in 2023 when LeBron James became the NBA's all-time leading scorer.
Coming to the end of the third quarter, LeBron James, a shot in history. And LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
That gave him 38,388 points, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the top of the NBA career scoring list. The game was paused for several minutes to commemorate the moment, and he was joined on the court by his family, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, and Kareem was on hand as well. Of course, King James is still building on his record. Heading into tonight's game against Golden State, LeBron has 42,905 career points. The closest active player is Kevin Durant, who has more than 11,000 points in arrears. On this night in 1970, Pistol Pete Maravich had his greatest game as a college player, and he set a scoring record in the process. His LSU Tigers were on the road in Tuscaloosa, taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Pete was not exactly in the greatest shape. I mean, he was physically fit, sure, but he had two pulled muscles, and midway through the second half, he twisted his ankle. None of that seemed to affect him, though, as he hit 26 of his 57 shots from the field and connected on 17 of 21 free throws on his way to scoring 69 points. That bettered the previous Division I mark of 68 set by Niagara's Calvin Murphy 2 years before. After the game, which the Tigers lost 106-104, an overzealous Alabama fan slapped Pete a little bit too hard on the back, which Pete did not exactly appreciate, so he chased the guy around the gym before somebody finally intervened and safely escorted Pistol back to the locker room. Maravich's record stood as the Division I record until 1991, when U.S. International's Kevin Bradshaw scored 72 in a game against Loyola Marymount. On this day in 1985, Bruce Morris made the longest shot in NCAA basketball history. The Marshall Thundering Herd were hosting Appalachian State at the Cam Henderson Center in Huntington, West Virginia on this night. With time winding down in the first half, Appalachian's Wade Capehart drove to the basket, but his layup attempt was rejected, and the blocked shot landed in the hands of senior Bruce Morris. Knowing that the horn was about to sound, Morris cocked the ball behind his head, and he let it fly.
It happened very fast. If you remember the video, it was a line drive shot. So I knew it had a chance of hitting something because it was on a line drive. But it did happen so quickly. Before I knew it, I'm like, that actually went in. And everyone else was stunned just like me.
The shot was initially measured at 92 feet 5 1/4 inches, but after reviewing the film, that measurement was amended to 89 feet 10 inches and was submitted to the Guinness Book of World Records for confirmation. Morris's shot beat the previous record of Virginia Tech's Les Henson in 1980 by 7 inches. And since this was the season before the three-point shot was implemented, Morris's shot only counted for 2. The Herd won the game 93-82. Marshall commemorated the shot by painting footprints on the floor. The Henderson Center went through a renovation about 6 years ago, and when the new floor was laid down, well, the feet were not there. A petition by Herd fans got that situation rectified, and the footprints were put back on the floor. Morris's shot is still the NCAA record. On this day in 2015, basketball coach Dean Smith passed away at the age of 83. Coach Smith had taken over from Frank McGuire at North Carolina in 1961 after McGuire became embroiled in a recruiting scandal. Smith had been an assistant under McGuire for 3 seasons when he was offered the head job. His start was a bit bumpy, though. His first season was just 17 games long, but his Heels only won 8 of those games. After a tough loss at Wake Forest in January of 1965, an effigy of Coach Smith was hung from a tree on campus. The moment fired up his players, and they rallied to finish the season with a winning record. The administration's patience with him paid off, and Smith produced a consistent winner. His Tar Heels won their first national championship in 1982 with a team that had James Worthy, Sam Perkins, and of course Michael Jordan. His second national title came in 1993. Smith retired abruptly and surprisingly in October of 1997, a few weeks prior to the start of the season. When Smith retired, he was the all-time winningest Division I basketball coach with 879 wins. He now stands 7th on that list. After his passing on this day, Coach Smith's last will and testament revealed that he'd left every one of his players he'd coached $200 to enjoy a dinner out as a thank you. Speaking of one of those former players, on this day in 1994, Michael Jordan signed with the Chicago White Sox to pursue his dream of playing Major League Baseball. By this point in his life, the 30-year-old, soon-to-be 31-year-old Michael Jordan had accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish. With back-to-back-to-back world championships with the Bulls in 91, 92, and 93, he retired the previous November. His father, James, had been an avid baseball fan and passed along the love of that sport to Michael, encouraging him to play it. James Jordan had been brutally murdered on July 23rd of 1993, and Michael's pursuit of Major League Baseball was a way to honor his father. The owner of the Bulls was also the owner of the White Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf, and after the success Michael had brought him with the Bulls in the previous decade, he was more than willing to give him his opportunity. Wearing number 45, Jordan started in Double-A ball with the Birmingham Barons, but he struggled at the plate a bit when he did reach base, though he was tough to stop, leading the team in stolen bases that year. Now, say what you want about his baseball career, and it was not great statistically. He hit .202 and he had an on-base percentage of .289. But there was talk about Michael actually being moved up to Triple-A ball in the spring of '95, so somebody in the organization believed in him. The big thing that thwarted Jordan's pursuit of his Major League dream, though, was the Major League Baseball strike that started in August that year and stretched on into April of '95. Jordan returned to the Bulls, of course, in March of '95 and said later that if the strike had not happened or stretched on as long as it did, he never would have returned to the NBA. We're returning to the NBA now with what happened on this day in 1993 when NBA rookie Shaquille O'Neal collapsed the entire basket with one of his power dunks.
Last game, Dennis Scott was starting. Bowie was coming off the bench as O'Neal follows and almost and does bring down the entire backcourt. That's one we haven't seen.
The Orlando Magic were on the road at Phoenix on this night. Shaq Diesel rebounded a miss by teammate Anthony Bowie. He didn't break the backboard. Instead, the basket slowly collapsed and folded in on itself. They swapped the wrecked one for a new one, and Shaq finished with 20 points and 5 rebounds on the night in a 121-105 loss to the Suns. On this day in 1969, Diane Crump became the first female jockey to ride at a U.S. parimutuel track. Taking the mount in the 7th race that day at Hialeah in Florida, Crump saddled up a 48-1 long shot named Bridle and Bit. Her mount caused quite the stir, though. She required a police escort to the stables and the track because an angry mob of people shouted insults at her. 6 jockeys, including future Hall of Famer Ron Turcotte, boycotted the race because they did not want to race against a woman. Substitutes were found for those 6, and the gates flung open on the historic race just a little bit behind schedule. After fading to the rear of the field on the backstretch, she managed to outpace a couple of other riders to finish 10th. A year later, in 1970, Crump would become the first female jockey in the Kentucky Derby. Crump passed away recently after being diagnosed with glioblastoma in 2025. She died on January 1st of this year at the age of 77. On this day in 1976, Toronto's Daryl Sittler put together the greatest offensive performance of any NHL player. Now, wait a second, didn't we just talk about Joe Malone's 7-goal performance a few days ago? And yes, that would be correct. That is the record for goals scored. But on this night, Sittler scored 6 goals and dished out 4 assists in an 11-4 win over Boston. His 10 points set an NHL record that still stands. Prior to this one, Sittler had been slumping a little bit, scoring only 5 goals in the previous 17 games. His 10 points bettered the previous record of 8 held by Maurice Richard and Bert Olmsted. On this day in 1999, Payne Stewart won a golf tournament without swinging the club. Now, that's a little misleading because Stewart had swung the club in anger the 3 previous days, ending Saturday's 3rd round as the 54-hole leader. But rain moved into the California coast and washed out Sunday's action at the AT&T Pebble Beach National Pro-Am. With more rain expected for Monday, the PGA Tour decided to cancel the rest of the tournament and award Stewart with the winner's check after he stood atop the leaderboard 1 shot ahead of Frank Licklider. He was a little disappointed in that he wanted to prove he could win a 72-hole event again after a 3.5-year drought. Stewart would only have to wait until June to prove he could win a full 4-day event when he won the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, his last win before his tragic plane accident in October. And wrapping up today's 9-story marathon episode with what happened on this day in 1962, when Sam Snead became the only dude to ever win an LPGA event. So this is a little gimmicky in that it was a 2-day, 4-round event played on a par 3 course. It was called the Royal Poinciana Invitational, and it consisted of just 15 players, 14 LPGA golfers with the likes of Patty Berg, Betsy Ross, Kathy Whitworth, Mickey Wright, and Snead rounding out the field. Now, Snead was trailing coming into the final round, but he rallied to win with a score of 5 under, besting the field by 5 shots. Now, if you think this was a one-time deal and that Snead smoked the field because he's a man playing against the ladies, you would be incorrect. The previous year, Snead finished second, 2 shots behind the winner, Louise Suggs. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. If you have ever enjoyed watching Bob Ross and the Joy of Painting, then you may already know that he painted 3 different canvases for each show. The first was a reference for show taping, the second he painted during the show, and then he painted a third with still shots taken for his instructional books. He never sold any of his works that he created on the show, though. Instead, he gifted them to charities to auction off. He made his money off the sales of his books and instructional videos. That's all I've got for you today. Come on back tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.